A student shot and killed. Joyce Jefferson reports a 9th grader at a West Baltimore junior high school was gunned down when he wouldn't surrender his jacket to some other teenagers.
15-year-old DeWitt Duckett died today trying to defend the jacket he's wearing in this picture. School officials say the 9th grader refused to give up the jacket when a group of 3 or 4 teenage boys confronted him. For that, it appears he was shot in the neck. The shooting happened around 1:30 here in the second-floor hall of Harlem Park Junior High. The assailants fled, and DeWitt somehow managed to make it down the stairs to the cafeteria. From there, an assistant principal began to escort him to the principal's office, but he collapsed here and died later at the University of Maryland Shock Trauma Unit. But the Harlem Park principal says before DeWitt died, he told him about the attack.
It was labored, but he talked. I was able to find out and piece things together and to start.
The principal says jackets like DeWitt's are a fad among students.
It's a popular thing. The youngsters wear the professional NBA jackets. It seems to be very popular at this time.
Police are now questioning several students who saw 3 or 4 teens approach DeWitt. It's believed the assailants are not students at this school. Harlem Park Junior High has had an ongoing problem with outsiders coming in the building. The reason? There are 87 doors in the building, and security officers say they're impossible to secure. But never before have those trespasses led to this type of violence. Joyce Jefferson, News Scene 2.
City homicide detectives are also investigating the death of a 71-year-old Baltimore man. A family, friend, and a granddaughter found the body of Marion Harris on the first floor of his apartment at 1427 East Preston about 10:30 this morning. Police say there were no wounds on the body, but there is reason to suspect Harris was murdered. An autopsy will be performed to determine the exact cause of death. A city school security officer accused of dealing heroin was in court today, along with another man who police say is a well-known drug dealer, Bernard Big Head Brother Lee. Kevin Brown was at the federal courthouse when both men entered not guilty pleas.
Charles Clinton is a security officer in the Baltimore City public school system. He was suspended after being arrested last month and charged with conspiracy to distribute heroin. Bernard Jerome Lee is charged with being a co-conspirator. Lee is now on parole after an earlier heroin distribution conviction. The indictment charges Clinton, Lee, and a third person indicted with purchasing high-quality heroin and conspiring to dilute the heroin and package it for sale to other heroin dealers. They're also accused of using force and threats of force to ensure they received full value for heroin purchased. At his arraignment, a pre-sentence investigator reported that Clinton has missed 2 appointments with his drug counselor. Magistrate Paul Rosenberg threatened to revoke his bond if Clinton missed any more appointments. He remains free on $25,000 bond. Bernard Lee remains free on a $120,000 bond. Each defendant could get 15 years in jail and a $25,000 fine. Kevin Brown, News Scene 2, Federal Court.
Prosecutors say they have 20 tapes of conversations between the defendants and undercover FBI agents. The trial is set for the second weekend in January. The federal jury in that Anne Arundel County school discipline trial will resume deliberations Monday in Baltimore. The $17.2 million suit charges the principal and his assistant at Germantown Elementary violated student civil rights by placing them in a closet for punishment. News Scene 2 has learned the name of one of the 3 other Baltimore area hospitals that have found the bacteria which caused meningitis in 5 infants earlier this year. The Jack Bowden reports the medical authorities continue to stress the hospitals that have found the bacteria are probably among the safest.
Memorial Hospital openly admitted that it found the bacteria in 1 infant, the bacteria apparently brought in by the infant's mother. But it may not be the biotype E strain of the bacteria that can cause meningitis. Tests are still being conducted, but the baby does not have meningitis. Only 2 other hospitals of all the hospitals I surveyed refused to confirm or deny whether they had found the bacteria. Johns Hopkins issued a statement saying it agrees with the health department policy that it is not in the public interest to name each hospital that finds the bacteria but no meningitis. City hospitals on Eastern Avenue issued a similar statement. The meningitis scare began earlier this year at St. Joseph's Hospital. Its nursery was closed and sterilized after 24 infants were found to be carrying the bacteria. 4 of them developed meningitis and 3 suffered brain damage. But the carriers of the disease were found and isolated. St. Joseph's Nursery has reopened with no trace of the disease since. In September, Franklin Square Hospital in Essex found the bacteria in 8 babies, and 1 of them developed meningitis. But there's been no further problem. Those two outbreaks at Franklin Square and here at St. Joseph's were so unusual, there have only been 9 similar outbreaks in the entire world, that all area hospital nurseries are now being monitored as a precaution. Babies and nurses in many hospitals are being tested constantly. That's how hospitals find the bacteria. Health officials emphasize that the bacteria will probably be found in almost every hospital eventually because it is such a common bacteria. But contracting meningitis from the bacteria is extremely rare. Only 76 cases in the world. That's why the outbreak here caused so much concern. But there have been no further outbreaks at any Maryland hospital since then, and none is expected, primarily because of all the extra testing. In fact, the hospitals that have found the bacteria are probably among the safest because they are constantly looking for the bacteria and when they find it, taking precautions to prevent any problems. I'm Jack Bowden, News Scene 2.
Buses continue to arrive and leave from the Baltimore Greyhound terminal today, but there was a new development on the picket line. Striking Greyhound workers were joined by members of the Maryland AFL-CIO. The demonstration was designed as a show of support for workers who have been striking the bus company nationwide for 2 weeks. Among those marching today was the new head of the state AFL-CIO, Edward Lamont. He replaces Tom Bradley, who died earlier this month.
It looks like we're going to plan a nationwide show of solidarity in every city across the country. The date has not been picked yet, but as soon as that happens, we'll notify all of our affiliates and we'll have a massive show of support down here.
There were no reports of violence at Baltimore's Greyhound terminal today. A Baltimore County man is in serious condition at Sinai Hospital this evening after a morning crash on Reisterstown Road. Police say 43-year-old Peter Schuster was driving his car when it was hit by a tractor trailer. The accident happened shortly before 8 o'clock this morning, blocking rush hour traffic for 2 hours. Anne Arundel County fire investigators are still probing the rubble of a Millersville apartment complex, trying to find the cause of last night's $500,000 blaze. 3 firefighters were slightly injured while battling the fire at Mill Pond Apartments. Some reports blame the fire on a space heater. Fire investigators say that is not, however, confirmed. Tomorrow afternoon, the Pride of Baltimore will come home to the Inner Harbor, returning after an absence of more than a year. Andy Barth rode home with her today as the crew and the city got ready for the reunion.
Sunrise found the Pride in Crab Creek, just south of Annapolis, a setting so peaceful it seemed a shame to leave. But the 12 crewmen on the vessel have been away for a long time, so they announced their departure and set sail. Their goal today was to stop just short of the Inner Harbor so they could be sure of arriving precisely at 4 p.m. tomorrow. On the way, they had a lot of polishing to do and some painting, so the ship would look her best for her home folks. On the road out west in appearances in California, Washington, and Oregon, the Pride was the setting for continuing cocktail parties and receptions. But on the way home through the Panama Canal and up the East Coast, she's been a working sailing ship. And today, she was again made a showpiece. For the crew, she's been home, and even though they're ready to land, they're already nostalgic.
Oh, it feels really good to be home. But I am going to miss everybody. I will miss it.
Definitely had a great time doing it, but I'm ready to get off.
I miss the people. You know, you get kind of close to them. I miss the sailing on such a great boat. But it'd be good to get out again and get on your own.
At high noon, the Pride sailed under the Bay Bridge, a milestone that said home at last. They had been in heavy seas off Georgia, in foreign ports in South America, and cut off from common comforts. Yet none seem to have found it a hardship. Would you do it again?
Oh yeah, I'd do it again. In fact, I want to get a job on another boat this winter down Caribbean way.
I asked at one point what members of the crew had missed most, thinking of maybe a food or a restaurant or some creature comfort. But most all of them said simply home, familiarity, friends, being around people and things that they knew. They'll have that starting tomorrow. I'm Andy Barth, News Scene 2 on the Pride.
That's all for News Scene 2 at 5:30. You all have a good weekend. News Scene 2 at 6 is next.
Hopkins did do its first heart-lung transplant today, and it started this morning and was done on a patient named Michael Bougere from Idaho, and he's been in Baltimore since June waiting for a heart-lung.
The operation took considerably less time than doctors had expected, lasting a little less than 6 hours. The patient is in satisfactory condition this evening, and tomorrow on News Scene 2 at 5:30, we will have a complete report on the transplant, including an interview with doctors who performed the surgery. 17 years and $800 million later, the dream is a reality. Baltimore Subway is rolling. The first day of regular operations went smoothly, and all the passengers we talked with loved it.
Very interesting.
Do you normally drive to work in a car?
Sometimes, but I've been taking the park and ride at Pimlico.
How is this as far as time is concerned?
About the same, I think.
I usually ride the bus.
And how does this compare as far as time?
It's faster, it's cheaper, it's smoother, it's everything.
And you're going to do it from now on?
Every day.
Tickets needed to get through the turnstiles did cause some confusion, however, today.
With the code 10. Get to school.
And the subway station's automatic bank teller, which is supposed to be open all the time, isn't, at least not yet. Is it quicker to drive your car or ride the subway from Northwest Baltimore to downtown? Jack Bowden and Andy Barth team up to give us the answer.
At 7:20 this morning, the first light of day found Jack and me in a Pikesville coffee shop. We set out for the corner of Charles and Baltimore streets. Jack in his car. And I on the Metro. Here's how it went.
It's 7:40 now, and I'm on Cross Country Boulevard. Got off of Reisterstown Road and cut over on Falstaff. Moving along very well, not much traffic.
At this point, it's 7:40, and I've passed 3 blocked off chances to get into the parking lot, and I'm not yet able to park to begin to ride.
At 7:45, the light has just turned green onto Northern Parkway. Picking up a little traffic now, but doing well.
All right, it's 7:45. I found a place to park. I'm going to go over and get on the train.
It's 7:50 now, and traffic moving very well. We're just approaching the North Avenue exit, and speed is at the limit, 50 miles an hour.
It's now 7:50. I'm waiting in line. I have my correct change, and I'm about to buy my ticket.
At precisely 7:55, the light has turned green onto Maryland Avenue from the Jones Falls, and we're on Maryland Avenue now, and traffic looks rather light up ahead.
7:55. I have my ticket. I'm about to go up to the platform to get on.
It is now not quite 7:59, and we're pulling into the garage here at Baltimore Streets about 24 minutes after we left the parking lot out there in Pikesville.
It's now 8 o'clock. I've been in my seat for about 3 minutes. We haven't started up yet, but I assume we'll be starting soon.
Thank you very much.
It's now 8:05. We've passed the Rogers Avenue and West Cold Spring Lane stations. Pretty soon, I imagine, we'll be going underground.
It's now 8:07. Took a while to get out of the parking garage waiting for the elevator, but we're heading now towards Baltimore and Charles and our rendezvous with Andy.
It's now 10 after 8. We've come all the way down the line just past Penn North, and the next stop will be Upton.
It's 8:09. That's about 34 minutes for the entire trip. And we're here, but Andy isn't. A thrill of victory.
All right, now it's 8:15. We're just leaving Lexington Market, and in only another minute or so, we should be in Charles Center. All right, it is now 8:18. We've arrived at Charles Center. The trip did take about 16 minutes. Now we go up to the ground and meet Jack. All right, now it's 8:20. We're on the escalator up to the street. We'll see who won. Look, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to keep you waiting.
That's about time you got here.
8:23 by my watch?
Yeah, we got here at 8:09.
Which means I've kept you waiting for 14 minutes. At Charles and Baltimore.
I'm Jack Winter Bowden.
I'm Andy Barth.
When you do ride the Metro, there are some things you should know, such as when the trains run and for how much. Well, a ride between any 2 stations costs 75 cents, except if one of those stations is Reisterstown, which is considered Zone 2. Then the fare jumps to 85 cents. Senior citizens and the handicapped ride for 25 cents. If they enter or exit Zone 2, it's 30 cents. Monthly passes include Zone 2, cost $31.50. Without Zone 2, the cost is $28. Transfers cost 10 cents. They're free for the handicapped and senior citizens. And finally, trains run every 8 minutes during rush hours. Off-peak hours, trains are scheduled for arrival about every 10 minutes. There is a lot more to show you about Baltimore's new Metro. We'll have those stories, including a live update on day 1 later on News Scene 2. The jury apparently can't make up its mind. A federal jury hearing the controversial Anne Arundel County school discipline case may be deadlocked. Kevin Brown is at federal courthouse now with a live report. Kevin?
Toby, the jury is hung on what are probably the two central issues in the case. They have now resumed deliberations and are back in the jury room thinking it over one more time. In probably the least important issue of the entire case, they did find against the 5 students and found 4 of the administrators of the school. Just to recap briefly, the school is Germantown Elementary School. Principal Ralph McCann, Vice Principal Wayne Miller, would take students who had misbehaved and put them in small storage closets. The students sued, saying the closets were too small, they were unclean, they were unkept, and that the experience was frightening. There are 2 major issues in the plaintiff's suit. First of all, they're saying that the punishment was too severe, and they're also saying racial discrimination was involved. The administrators are white, half the school is white, the students involved, most of them are black. It is on those 2 major issues the jury is hung. It gave a note to the judge saying they could not reach a verdict. The judge said, please go back in the jury room and try again. That's where they are now. The smaller issue of whether the students were allowed to at least tell their side of the story before being punished, on that issue the jury ruled in favor of the administrators and against the students. Toby?
Okay, Kevin, thank you. Charges are not expected against a city police officer who shot a man today. Police say Sergeant McGuire shot 29-year-old King Charles Blake 5 times. Blake allegedly grabbed the officer, started screaming, and thrust his arm at the officer. McGuire shot the suspect after he refused to drop his arm and kept it pointed at the officer. Police say Blake was holding a Bible beneath the coat. The murder of a 14-year-old Harlem Park Junior High School student still haunts pupils, parents, and teachers there. Police haven't been able to crack the case as yet. Joyce Jefferson with a follow-up report on the death of DeWitt Duckett, gunned down for his jacket.
This was the first day of school following the murder of Harlem Park Junior High student DeWitt Duckett, and many of his schoolmates say they're scared.
I am scared, I'll tell you the truth. I am scared, you know, it frightened me, and I really took it hard when I heard about him dying, you know. I thought he would be all right.
Well, we mostly scared and worried about the security and what's been happening. I feel that it should have been prevented. I don't know how, but that's what we're working on, probably.
And it was fear and anger that brought many Harlem Park parents to school today. They met with the principal and came up with a list of ways to improve the school's security. Students will soon have to wear ID cards. The fire department is already reassessing the necessity to keep all of the school's 87 doors unlocked, and the possibility of installing a TV monitoring system is being investigated.
The safety of our children is what we want, and we intend to get it. And we don't care what the system costs, we want it in the school.
Mayor Schaefer says more facts are needed before security at Harlem Park is changed. The mayor says he's most concerned right now with finding the gunman.
What I want now is that person caught. That's what I want. And the police are really concentrating on that, and I want that person apprehended.
Police are still searching for 3 black males aged 15 to 17 in connection with DeWitt Duckett's murder. Joyce Jefferson, News Scene 2.